Neil with Uncle the dog in 1956. Looking up the gully. Glenn and Neil playing in the dirt. Neil playing with his truck. Barry and Glenn busy building. Uncle again. Mum. The three boys on the hill. Floods at Murray Bridge. The three boys sitting on sandbags. Looking at the devastation. More of the floods. Houses underwater. The rotunda underwater. Motors Limited flooded. A lovely display of soursopes. Neil, a happy little boy who must have had a fall. I can't decide whether to get on my bicycle. The main homestead. Hills scenery. Grandpa ready for bowls. Dad ready for cricket. Grandpa and Nana. Glenn 5 years, Neil 3 years. The Glynde church at Christmas time and decorated for a wedding. Nana's annual Victor Harbour holiday. Mum with the three boys under Umbrella Rock at Victor Harbour. The foreshore at Glenelg Beach. All aboard. Denise, Barry, Neil and Glenn with Daryl at his birthday party. Auntie Kath and Uncle Ron. Neil with his pet car. Tom the pussycat. Picnic at Humbug Scrub. Feeding the kangaroos. Hectorville Church. Family holiday near Berry. Barry and Glen. Tantanoola Caves at Penola. Pine Forest View. Mum and Auntie Ruth. Barry and Glen ready for Sunday school. Two loving brothers. Grandma and Grandpa wedding. Nana after her swim at Victor Harbour. The three boys making sandcastles. Mum and Neil at Victor Harbour. Your mother played A-team tennis. Kevin's baptism with Brian and Rosalie, Auntie Joy's sister. Neil deep in thought. Barry. Barry and Glen. The boys again. Sunday school picnic at Morialta in 1958. Mother hammering a nail with Neil looking on. Trabuco's sheep. Tomatoes staked. Lemons. Harvest Thanksgiving at Glynde Church. Crates of tomatoes. A view looking towards the homestead. Frisky, a pet lamb. A view of the gully. Glen collecting wood. Barry. Glynde Church extensions in 1959. Trabuco's truck at the Sunday school picnic. Auntie Ruth's wedding in New Guinea. Glynde Church completed. The three boys and Darryl feeding the sheep at the old house. Glenn at North Adelaide after a doctor's appointment. Glenn again. Dad looking very thoughtful. The three boys at Sunday school. Barry ready for tennis in 1960. Tom Playford opening sports day. Glenn in front to the right. Roy Becker, the teacher. Iron Knob picnic. Mum, Auntie Pat. Annette, Julie and Neil at Whyalla. Barry and Neil carting wood. Dad's Chev. Grandma's 60th birthday. Picnic at One Tree Hill. Neil, Mum and Glenn. Skip as a young puppy. Crabbing at Thompson's Beach. Neil in front. Barry's confirmation at Glynde with Pastor Went. Sports day. Mum and Neil in the back row. Car and caravan at Barmera. Dad, Glenn and Neil at Lake Bonnie in 1965. Going sailing. Cherries. Uncle Keith, Mum's brother, at Montacute. Glenn with a baby rabbit. Montacute School. Neil in the back row on the right. Mum playing basketball. The Trabuco family at Malvern. Glenn and Neil rowing in the parkland. Glenn's confirmation with Auntie Marge. Sunday school and church picnic. Mum's throw must have gone very high. Glynde boys tennis team. Dennis, John, Neil and Kim. Dad, Licia and a pet lamb. Glenn hiding from the water spray at Mount Bold. Landslide on the property. The shearing shed. Digging out the dam. The dam completed. Kevin's confirmation. Dad, Kevin and Rosalie. George, Joy and Kevin. Mum's trip to Queensland with Barry in 1969. This was taken in West Wyalong. Barry at the House of Bottles, the largest glass bottle in the world, 27 feet high, 12 feet across and 17,000 stubbies. The Thams at home. Barry looking over the countryside at Nambour. Entrance to Africa Park. Lions in the park. We visited the Butterham Ginger Factory. O'Reilly's Green Mountains, where we camped. Barry in a tent and Mum in the car. Barry at the Big Banana at Coffs Harbour. Opera House, Sydney. Giraffes at the zoo. Barbary sheep and the harbour bridge. A lookout on the bridge from the top of the pylon. Entrance to Jenolan Caves. Minaret in the cave. Barry, Glenn and Neil looking very solemn. Barry alighting from the bus, National Service, in 1969. Our pussycat in the ice. It must have been very cold. Barry in uniform. Sergeant Trabilko. Barry ready to leave. Marching out parade, Puckapunyal. Gunner, Barry Trabilko. Barry home on leave. The new dam full. Barry and Carol's wedding in January 1972. Auntie June, Auntie Marge with Nana. Barry and Carol. Glenn's car smash. Again. Glenn's graduation from university. Grandma and Mum at St George's Unit, Burnside. Cleaning up after a storm and mudslide. Carol with Alison in 1973. Neil's car smash on the Montacute Road. How did he escape being killed? Alison and the cat. Glenn and Julia at the Glen Church. Glenn and Julia in the park. The two mums with groomsman and bridesmaid. Mum, Julia's mother, and Diane. Neil and Shireen, September 1975. Neil and Shireen again. Mum, Dad, Neil and Shireen. Deborah, Alison and David. The children again. The children with Carol and Julia. Mum with David. Deborah with the cat, a bad picture. Barry with the girls. Ruth, John and family in 1976. Looking towards Barry's house. Garden, sheds and sheep on the hill. Carol and the girls. Grandma at her Glynde unit. Alison and Deborah. Mum with Alison and Deborah. Julia with David. Auntie Ruth with Glenn, Julia and David. And again. Cherry blossom across the dam. Alison and Deborah. Dad with the girls. Alison and Deborah. The two girls with Mrs. Steins's dog. At the Tusmore Pool, Christmas Day 1978. David, Neil, Glenn and Julia. David in the pool. The old house up the gully. Neil with Alison and Deborah. A good slide, but didn't turn out on the video. Alison, Deborah and David. David at Grandma and Grandpa's. Dad with David. Barry with Robert Tham. Robert, Mum and Grandma. Mum, Dad, David and Rachel. Glenn and Julia with the children. Mum and Dad with the children. Mum and Dad. The new church at Glynde. Neil with David and Rachel. Rachel. Alison and Rachel. (1981) floods, our waterfalls. Brenda Smith at the post office. Up Smith's Gully. Down the Montacute Road. A raging torrent. The creek at Barry's house. Track near the main road. A collapsed bank. The road up to Barry's. Landslide in 1981. More of the bank collapsed. The road to Barry's again. Barry rebuilt this vehicle from a near total wreck. Rachel in a toy car. The family at Montacute, Mother's Day 1982. Neil by the Shade House. Alison and Deborah in fancy costumes. 1982 at Buckingham Arms. Neil, Terry and Rebecca. David helping his sister. David's note to Santa. Santa Claus, my stockings are in the last room down the hall to the left. David T. Bushfire in 1983. Burnt remains of an Anglican monastery. Neil and Terry's wedding. Barry, Neil, Terry and Carol. Mum and Dad with the bride and groom. Landslide at Glens. David with his toys. Neil at the hospital with Michael. Michael. Neil, Terry, Rebecca and baby Michael. Dad at Durnan Court home. The backyard. Dad taking it easy. Rachel's 5th birthday and Dad's 58th at Durnan Court. Michael. Christmas 84 at Durnan Court. Six grandchildren. Dad relaxing at Glenelg with David and Rachel. Bedtime, David at Durnan Court. Rachel with some favourite toys. Rachel and Rebecca. Grandparents' grave at Centennial Park. Michael at Durnan Court. Asleep. Michael again. Christmas at Dernancourt in 1985. Michael on the bike. The family at Dad's 60th birthday with Neil. The family again with Glenn. Barry and Anna's wedding, Lobethal Lutheran Church, April 1987. Barry and Anna again. Leah's dedication at Norton Summit Baptist Church. River flooded at the ford, Dernancourt, 1987. A submerged car. Julia and Leah at Mum and Dad's 40th wedding anniversary. Mum and Dad. Mum and her unfavourite politician in Ballarat Garden. Barry's igloo. Xantadesia lilies, colours washed out, yet the slides was excellent. Leah at Dernancourt. Mum and Dad with the 3 children. Leah at home. Mum in the backyard at Dernancourt. Dad in the Nissan Bluebird. Mum on the Wheel of Fortune. It was after the show. Mum with John Deeks, a co-host on the show. Lynette and Chris with Dad. Dad with Leah. Leah not in the mood for photos. Dad's 60th birthday at Glenn and Julia's. Christmas at Dernancourt in 1989. Most of the remaining pictures are disappointing, although the slides were good. The other end of the table. Julia and Leah. Ruth, John, Chris, Mum and Dad. Floods again. Glenn's 40th birthday at the Highbury Hotel. Christmas 1991 at Dernancourt with Mum. Christmas group with Dad. Barry and Anna and Neil, Terry and family. Rachel and Leah in the garden at Dernancourt, 1992. Rachel and Leah again. The end of the video.